All right. Well, let's talk about the characters. We'll save Sato for the. We'll divide them into the Federation and the Klingons because those are the major characters, and we'll save Sato for the end of the Federation, though.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and we'll start with, of course, the main character, Michael Burnham. Yay or nay? Good character, bad character?
You guys go first.
She's nice to look at. I mean, I have no problem.
Do you prefer the Vulcan hair or the current hair?
Obviously, the current hair. That's not even a question.
It's the weirdest thing. I would expect so as well, but I loved the Vulcan hair. I thought she looked really good.
You were very weird.
I know.
And I didn't.
I'm a Trekkie. Trekkier.
I'm Trekkier than you.
And I wasn't crazy about her kind of Vulcan delivery. I don't think she did that very well. It was like Will Smith in After Earth. You know, it was just real.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, it wasn't easy to listen to. I mean, I prefer her how she sounds now, but when they first introduced her, when she first met the Michelle Yeoh character, it's like, oh, I hope we don't have to listen to any more of that.
No, I agree. I liked her in Walking Dead, and she's attractive. She's a very attractive woman. So she's a good actress. You know, she's a good actress. Yeah, but that Vulcan thing was painful to watch. I really didn't like that. I'm glad they dropped that and made her more human. Yeah, I'm not really liking the character so much, and I know they're kind of applauding themselves, saying we're presenting this very flawed character, but so is the captain, so is it. Like everybody's super flawed now.
Yeah,
but I think for a main character, the person has to be somewhat likable. Like Kirk was pretty flawed; he was rash, but people liked Kirk. People liked Picard. I didn't watch Voyager enough, but I think people like Janeway. I don't know. People like Cisco. Yeah. There was like good qualities to Cisco. Yeah.
I like angry Cisco, not crazy Cisco. Sorry.
All right.
Tangent.
But she needs. Maybe her interaction with Tilly is gonna help make her more likable. You get to see more. But now, I probably liked her even less with episode 5 and the way she gets that telescope and then she just gives it to Sato and it's like, well, what's that supposed to mean? And why would you accept that telescope? The captain didn't give it to you. She gave it to Burnham, and now she's doesn't care, or here's a peace offering of a telescope. I don't know. And just the way they're presenting it, where she's the know-it-all character. So you're like, well, obviously she thinks that, so don't go disagree with her because you're going to be wrong. Like she needs to be presented as wrong sometimes and then kind of learns from that. I don't know. Maybe they'll do that at some point. But right now, too know-it-all, too unlikable.
I completely disagree. I actually love the character. I really do. She's one of my favorite main characters in a show recently.
In a show?
Yeah.
Not in a Star Trek show?
Like I'm going that far. I really am. Wow. I actually really like the character.
Gosh, have you not seen
Breaking Bad.
Narcos?
Yeah, right.
Have you not seen the Ozarks?
Actually, I haven't.
All right.
I really don't watch much TV or movies these days.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I'm kind of comparing her with like. So I'm looking at some other like female leads from sci-fi thing, and mostly I went to Star.
Why does it have to be a female lead?
It doesn't. Okay, just that's kind of what I started.
All
right,
fair enough.
But from Star Wars, so you got Jyn Erso from Rogue One, and then Rey from Force Awakens. And the character of Rey from Star Wars, I like her, but she's got a real Superman / Harry Potter effect to her, where whenever a challenge came up against her, she just kind of powered up and overcame it with some kind of new skill or new ability that they released. Need to escape from the TIE fighters? Hey, look, she's a pilot. Need to escape from prison? Hey, look, she's got force powers.
Yeah.
So she's a fun character, and I like her styling, but I didn't feel that she was very flawed. On the other hand, Michael, I see the same thing. She's very powerful, not powerful, skilled, in that she can think her way out of almost any situation. But I see the flaws there. And I don't mean the flaws in a character sense, like that you say she's unlikable, but I mean the flaws that she's extremely rash and extremely impulsive. And that's where I saw the neck pinch being part of her character. That she tries to be stoic, tries to be Vulcan, tries to not have any emotions, but she just can't help it. Same thing with when she killed the guy, switched it over to the thing. I mean, obviously it was a really stupid thing to do, but kind of just her emotions overcame her. And there was also that in a positive sense too, when she was doing the spacewalk, and it was a dangerous thing, but she just really started to enjoy herself, and I thought that was a really humanizing kind of thing. The captain said, she's having fun. So I really like the character. And I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, that sometimes she comes off-putting in the way that she handles interactions with the crew. And that telescope thing was weird, especially how it was just so spur of the moment. It seemed like she was just trying to make him go away rather than trying to give a proper peace offering. But but I really, really like the character.
Like, when she went up to Stamets and said, I forget the exact line, but it's like, you're a genius, you're really smart.
Yeah.
And he's okay, I know that. What do you want? Like, that kind of thing, I think they can play with, where they present her as more socially awkward. And there it can actually lighten stuff. And in that case, I think it was done well, where she was awkward. Logically, she knows what somebody does. They butter up another person and then try to get what they want. And that worked, but too much. She just comes across as, I don't want to say cold, but just like almost not like a blank either, because I can see what they're trying to do, and maybe that's the problem. I see what they're trying to do, and I shouldn't overthink that character. I should just accept the character and then watch them interact with stuff and go through the story. So maybe this is too obvious, what the torment and the Vulcan versus human thing they're trying to do. So it's like they've pulled the curtain back, and now I'm just like kind of watching from backstage. And she's like, she's delivering that line very well. Oh, that one not so well. Got to work on that one. Yeah,
she probably already has a stage mom. She doesn't need you to be
calling her.
I don't know if I needed.
I'll follow her on Twitter just so I can give her. Oh, it's good. I like that. More of that.
I don't know if I need to be like hit more over the head with kind of her character conflict, because I'm not quite sure like what a human trained as a Vulcan produces. I don't think they were super.
Michael Burnham.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing the clearly seeing the conflicts of her, like passionate, emotional, hot-bloodedness, and then her kind of stepping back or just trying to be logical. There's just, I don't know. I think it's more clear. It was more clear, like in the new version of Spock and things. He gets crazy, violent, over the top, and
they've done this character.
Yeah,
they've done the half Vulcan, half human, whereas
to death. Yeah, it's been in every single series.
Yeah, so like Spock, both versions of Spock, I think it's more logical. Probably Leonard Nimoy's was more logical than the new version of Spock, but still it was like the default is logical with spurts of emotion that's still strange for him to experience. And I understand what you're saying, like she's more, I'm an emotional person that's trying to be logical and put on the facade. But I mean, putting up a mirror to it and doing the same character but like a mirror image of it, I don't know. Maybe that's it.
There's the Captain Philippa character had some exchange with her talking about when she failed, and I think the kind of only insight and maybe what was happening and why she received the Vulcan training, it was the only thing that was going to save her from the kind of emotional damage of losing her parents. I think that was so I'm just trying to find my way in that, and so she made that reference that they put a shell of kind of Vulcan logic on you, and I thought I could break that off and then make you find your humanity, and but I'm just not quite following following that.
Maybe this is not a good thing to say because people are understanding PTSD more, and it's a lot more prevalent than people originally thought. But I think they're going to do it to death in the series. So normally, and maybe what we're used to, is you have the one character with post-traumatic stress disorder, but here we're going to have a couple characters, or everybody's going to have it to some degree. And I understand, and that's probably more realistic, but I think it might get a little tiresome if you have everybody kind of acting with their PTSD. So here it's not unique to her. So I think you'll start to go, hey, you got to get over it, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Just because you're going to be seeing it in different characters, and I know you're going to see it with other characters that we're going to talk about. We're going to see it in Lorca, and
if we're not already.
yeah. Well, speaking of Lorca, what do you guys think about Gabriel Lorca, a captain that we've never seen before?
Yeah, and that's a good way to describe him too. Is this isn't like any Starfleet captain that we've ever had a character of. You know, there's been like the warmongering captains that show up in bit episodes and other things, but this is the first
to be
time.
very wrong and to be get their comeuppance at the end of it.
And that's I think I mentioned already twice in the series, but I like that as a new angle of Star Trek to explore. Is how to deal with this kind of person is almost necessary, especially at this time in the Federation. So how do they deal with it?
It does well. I think Jason Isaacs is a good actor. I liked him in Brothers. The first time I saw him. Yeah, I think in The Patriot, I guess we'll forgive him for being to be in that movie. But I don't know. I suppose I like the character. I don't mind that. Yeah, he is the warmonger. He sells it, especially in the 5th episode where you're gonna take me off. Good luck trying to make up for me not being in the war, and has that arrogance and that. And maybe because I expect that character to be more one-dimensional, I suppose I accept that he's gonna be like this great military genius kind of thing. Because I don't expect that, because he wasn't presented as the main character.
That was a pretty villainous reveal at the end of episode 3 when he showed that he had the Ripper in captivity, and that was like something the bad guy
he looked
would
like
do.
A proper bad guy in that scene. Hey,
so I thought
he was a proper bad guy at the end of episode 5. I agree with you because Harry Mudd, and he's like, see ya.
Yeah.
Which was a bit cold because he's leading him on the prison ship.
But I think that's really where they're building up his character. He's really no nonsense and really cold is the word for it. Just like Michael. Like everyone.
He's cold and calculating in a way that I suppose we can relate to. And I think he is almost our wish fulfillment for people who aren't attracted to this idealized version of the future, this utopia federation, where he is like, you would do that. I would do that. Like, no, kick him some more. Where you would kill like a prisoner because you're just angry. So maybe that's why I like him a little bit better. And I didn't mind that Michael Burnham killed that prophet, that Klingon prophet. Yeah, I understand why you would do that within the story, or why our character would do that. Yeah, I bought that. But I would probably buy Gabriel Lorca giving somebody a Vulcan pinch more so, just because the person always presented as ruthless. And even the interaction with that admiral, when the admiral says, I'm your friend, and he's like, I don't believe you, and you're like, this guy
he would go with it.
He just uses people. And even his relationship with Michael Burnham is like, you are a tool for him.
And actually it's a really minor nitpick, but one thing that I thought was strange, not just with him but with Saru and the rest of the crew too, is when they're saying this tardigrade is getting sick and we're not going to be able to use it for much longer, that nobody listens. It's just a weird thing. Like, Lorca is an intelligent guy, and he realizes how important this technology is. Why is he gambling with it, not being able to use it anymore? It's the strangest thing.
No, that was a good reason, but I don't know. Like, I think Saru
I understand, because he wanted to save the captain. But I don't understand the captain. Why wouldn't he realize the importance of keeping this thing healthy?
I think he would use Michael Burnham until she died. I think he would. But he destroys that ship because he's like, well, I'm gonna. The crew's done. I'm not gonna. I don't want to. And I guess there's some sentimentality. I don't want them to be tortured. But when you're tortured, you're still alive, and you can conceivably save them in the future. But it was almost like they're done. I'm done. That ship's done. That crew's done. Gone. And even with this new technology, it gives them an edge. And maybe he's just not the kind of. He doesn't have that kind of foresight where he goes, it would kind of be good to have that long term in the future. But he's just seeing it as a way to quickly end the war. Like, if, let's say, just to bring it to reality, like when you're looking at the atomic bombs, Fat Man and Little Boy, like, he would definitely be all for using both on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, even though they didn't have a third bomb, gambling that, okay, it's going to knock the Japanese out of the war, and the Russians are going to think that we have the third, fourth bomb that we could drop on them. And he wouldn't think anymore. Like beyond that, kind of thing. Like he would just
in that
use
example, absolutely. But I think it's different, is because there is only one known tardigrade that they've ever found and they know of. So if that's gone, then that's it. It's not like using the bomb because we don't have more, because it's possible to build more. You still have your team.
But
Einstein
that tool,
closer example would be if let's kill off our team and not be able to build any more bombs.
well, okay, like he would kill all the scientists too.
And
If putting them in the second bomb somehow would have made it more lethal and increased the chance of winning World War II, then they're presenting Gabriel Lorca as the guy. Yeah, let's strap Oppenheimer to little boy, kind of thing, or like we need the scientists to guide the bombs, and there's only 2 scientists. I have no problem with that. Strap him. That's the way I kind of see it. Where he's I know he presented as, hey, imagine traveling here instantaneously and seeing this, but he doesn't really see it as this thing that we're going to use after the war or in peacetime, or he doesn't care so much. Right now, he sees it has one value, and that's to end the war, or have the Federation win the war.
Yeah.
And if that means you're not going to be able to use it after you win the war, he doesn't care.
And that's true, but I don't see it winning the war right now.
Maybe he obviously does, and I don't see it either, because they haven't really sold me on the technology, how it gives it that much of an advantage. It's able to, like, one ship is able to go someplace quicker.
I see that part of it, but it's one ship, so it.
Yeah, so I don't see it as a war winner, but but I don't see the technology as that great compared to warp speed. But they tell you it's that great. So they tell you it's an amazing technology, and when he talks about it, he thinks it's that great.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if it actually is that great, or if it actually would win the war. It all that matters is that he believes it will win the war, and that in his hands it will win the war.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I thought, maybe I can walk back my critique of episode 5 a little bit, in that I thought I believe the scenes that he had. And, like, for example, with the Admiral, I thought that would show me a lot about him. And I like that Admiral. I hope we see a lot of her.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, because she does give us a glimpse into what maybe he was. Yeah. So, and there's a case where you had Michael Burnham. Sorry, go back to her, but you show, like, her having flashbacks of her childhood, and I guess it was more like the traumatic
exam.
Yeah, the traumatic exam that she had on Vulcan. Whereas with Lorca, they didn't have to do as much. They just tell you it, and you can see it in his interactions with somebody from his past, and you can also see it in his interactions with the people now. So I like the character.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, how about Paul Stamets, the science guy, played by Michael Rapp?
Yeah. His first appearance, I was like, I can't stand too much of this guy. No, I was really that reveal in episode 5 made me much more comfortable with what that actor was doing with that character, because he was very abrupt and very bristly with everybody, and I was wondering, what that was, what he was doing.
When you say reveal, were you surprised that those two were together?
Yeah, I didn't.
You were surprised the Doctor was gay?
No, not asking whether you were surprised that they were gay. Were you surprised that they were together? Those two were a couple.
Oh, specifically? No, I wasn't surprised that they were a couple. Oh, it was fun. It was a fun reveal because the Doctor was complaining about their interactions, their kind of professional interactions. He's like, he never agrees with what I said. He's kind of was bringing their personal bickering into their work life. But no, I was happy though that they were actually played as gay characters and not just, this is his idea of how people in the future talk.
Yeah. And not super stereotypically either.
Yes, very realistic, and it worked well. I think it serves that character. Yeah. Wow.
I wasn't hugely surprised when it was revealed that they were a couple, although I initially thought that he was a couple with his partner. the scientific partner. The guy that was elsewhere that then got killed off.
Oh, right, because he was very effective.
But I knew that, and this was a case where I read about the actor talking about the character, saying he really liked the reveal, and I knew he would be revealed with his partner. So then no, it can't be him, this guy that got killed off, because we're not going to see him interact as lovers, because they only interacted as scientific partners, which is what they were. But of course, the doctor's gay. I also know that actor, and he's gay, Wilson Cruz, and he tends to play either characters that are gay because it's maybe important for the story, or you probably think it's gay because he plays them somewhat gay. And then of course I know Stamets, the character's gay and the actor's gay, so I was like, they're two gay characters. Yeah, so maybe they could be together. But I liked how, the doctor's talking about the relationship prior to knowing that he really has one with Stamets, but just how they interact professionally. Yeah. And then, I liked the reveal. I don't know how surprised I was, but I did like it.
Same as you. I didn't read the rumor that there was going to be a reveal, so I thought that his partner was the other scientist who had died. And actually, I was wondering how he was going to deal with that, because it seemed like he just accepted it really quickly. So I was actually surprised at those two, especially because I felt like the show maybe misled me a little bit. They seemed really adversarial, and it was hard to see them.
I think that will play out really well.
And I totally agree. And I think that now that I see that, maybe it's just me, I didn't catch it. I thought that they just didn't like each other. Yeah. But it was a kind of moment for me. So, and I hope to see more.
Yeah, I think Stamets going to be the ironic comic relief.
Agreed. He's going to be the Dr. Bashir of this series.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was he ironic comic relief?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, one of.
Okay, yeah.
And he actually followed a similar character arc, though it was much longer, it was much more spread out in Deep Space Nine, in that he came on as kind of a pompous guy, aloof. Yeah. You started out not liking the character. He wasn't written to be liked, but by the end, he was a really familiar kind of guy, and I imagine that's going to be the same way they're going to go with him.
Yeah, I mean, he actually plays well, like that scene you said about with Michael Burnham. Like, he can, more so than the Tilly character, can actually make Michael Burnham a likable character, because he's
more unlikable.
no, but he's presented as more as an equal.
Yeah.
And I think they were, and I guess you got to be careful with a character like Michael Burnham. You can't have her being like too godlike. So you have to have characters that can be her equal. And I was kind of worried where Stamets was going to be presented as he's a genius, but he's just not as smart as Michael Burnham. But they've actually presented it where he's actually can make those leaps, even though I don't like how they can make those leaps of intuition so much. But at least they're sharing it now, or he can do it as well.
They did actually say that, though. Remember, Saru said, she's the smartest officer I've ever met. And then Lorca says, well, and he's met you, Stannis.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
They fell into their own trap.
No, but I do like that. And since we did talk about the Dr. Culber, he's a good character.
Yeah.
The doctors, they tend to get right.
Agreed. Yeah. And he's only had a few minutes of screen time, so it's hard to judge, but what I've seen so far is good.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a character where you're like, I'd like to see more of that person. Absolutely. So then when you saw that he was Stamets' partner, then you're like, oh, good. That probably means I'll see this character more.
Right, yeah.
Because it is the partner, and they'll definitely want to, even if they didn't plan it, they'll want to lean on those dynamics to give it a more family vibe. Yeah. I don't mean like family as in Disney, but like kind of the Star Trek, the Next Generation.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Or maybe brown-toothed mirror Stamets will kill him.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's the only complaint. It's like, I don't know, where do you get those brown teeth? No.
Those double.
But again, the unflattering thing, and I mean, he's, Jeremy was actually telling me about lighting stuff a couple weeks ago. And when you light people with different complexions, and you got Stamets is very pale, and his partner is not terribly dark, but darker. And I was just kind of looking at, just thinking about what you were saying about the lighting, and I think they're lighting it more for Wilson Cruz, the doctor.
Yeah.
Because he looked okay. He's actually looking pretty good. Whereas Stamets looked kind of sickly.
I think he looks that way in every scene, though. I think maybe that's just him.
But he looked extra sick in the toothbrushing scene.
Yeah,
it was like,
no, that's true.
like they were doing the lightning and trying to balance between.
But that's it. Maybe that's what they were going for, because at the end they did that little twist
reveal.
thing, so
Yeah.
maybe it was on purpose.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been. Yeah. And I didn't notice the brown teeth until the 5th episode.
I actually haven't noticed yet. But
Yeah, and I didn't notice like Martin Green's like as Jeremy said, a very attractive woman. But then you see the bumpy skin. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, you don't need to show that. That doesn't help her character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like a little Vaseline on the lens, please.
And that's the thing. Like, then you were mentioning the eyeliner. Her foundation is really thickly caked on, and it's got to be a choice.
Sorry, did I say eyeliner?
Yes.
Eyebrow pencil.
Ah.
Eyebrow pencil. Oh boy, do I feel bad about that. Because you do, you do see eyeliner usually on women, but the eyebrow pencil is supposed to be kind of secret, and it was the eyebrow pencil. It was like, wow, that didn't work.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go with her character as well, because I just don't know yet.
Sylvia Tilly, the redhead.
Yep.
I don't have much to say.
Yeah, nor do I. Well, that's I said I don't know yet, and I want to.
Yeah, but she was a little bit too much of that. Oh, this is the goofy college roommate. She's going to be stuck with. I didn't like her. I didn't like that reveal. I mean, I think they're going to use her well, but right away, she's a good foil. She's a good counter to Michael's seriousness. But I was turned off, just like with a lot of the characters. I think their initial reveal, their initial interactions were not very appealing, but I see how it's going to work, and that's why it took me a while. It took me until episode 5 to say, okay, this might be okay.
Yeah. I don't know. See, I think they're kind of putting her as Michael's heart, Michael's foil, and I don't find her quite likable enough yet. She seems whiny. I don't want to say whiny, but
I can understand why she would eat alone.
Yes, exactly.
Like they definitely presented that, like mission accomplished. Yeah, I didn't like her. I don't like characters presented as this character is here just to prop up Michael, or to be, like you said, be Michael's heart.
Yeah.
Because then I think, what else is she gonna do?
Yeah.
But she did have amazing hair in that scene where she had her hair down when Michael came into the room. She had her hair up the whole time, and then one of those scenes she walked in, she's got these big red curls, locks,
enormous hair.
Didn't like the hair, but that's not important.
If only she had Vulcan hair.
Considering how much body her hair has, that would be really weird. She would look
entire rooms. That's why they have the bridge so large.
Yeah.
Chili's hair's down.
Black alert.
And this is not really the character, but I guess if we had to divide people into two camps, people who liked the use of the F word and people who didn't like the use of the F word, I would be didn't like the use of the F word. I thought it was gratuitous and unnecessary.
I think Star Trek has always ridden the line there.
Has it?
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, all the time. I remember in Next Generation.
You corksucker.
I'm thinking of a couple of examples, but
Picard was always swearing a blue streak.
It was Riker, actually.
Yeah.
He whenever something was going down, I remember one time, because it just surprised me that I noticed it, is he just yelled down at engineering, "Geordi, what the hell is going on down there?" And obviously it's a network show.
Clutch the pearls. He said hell.
That's in contrast to the way that the other Star Trek is played. It's very mild mannered. They don't have those kinds of outbursts, and they don't use that kind of language in general. But in a lot of scenes, they do use that. In original series as well, they went up to and said what you're allowed to say on network TV. And they never cross the line because it's illegal to do so. And so I don't find it surprising at all that they used it in this one now that it's on a streaming service.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
Well, and that was, that definitely said, this is a new thing. Like you haven't heard this before, and we're able to do this. So,
I think if it had been slipped in and you're like, oh, did they just said that? But the fact that a lot of attention was drawn to it, that maybe I was like, oh, come on. Are you like trying to be too cool for school, maybe? Maybe that's what turned me off. I'm not a Trekker, so I don't think we need to preserve the the sanctity of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So I was like, you just drop that to get the reaction. And then I just like, so it's not like I dislike hearing the F word. It's just that I didn't like that. You know, it's like you tried to shock me with the swear. And the only reason I'm saying the F word is because we try to be non-explicit.
Even though I used it once. And that will be cut out.
We beeped it out. We beeped it out.
Yeah. Check out the live stream if you want to hear us swearing in real time.
When you beep it out, use the red alert sound.
That would be cool.
Yes.
Make it so. Hey! Oh, did you hear? Jason Isaacs wanted Lorca to have a catchphrase, and it was "Get her done."
Oh no!
Not a joke, and they said no because
Thank you for saying no.
Larry the Cable Guy has it trademarked.
Oh yeah.
Is that the only reason? Please tell me that's
think
not
so.
Oh,
I think so.
Wow.
You know, actually,
Get her done.
I decided not to say it, but I was thinking about it when we were talking about the F word there, about how I like in a lot of shows like Battlestar Galactica or Serenity. Yeah, they changed it a little bit. That gives you a little bit more of a future vibe for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I also, it's partly just to not say the word on TV. But yeah, I kind of think it's weird, you know? Of course, they're using English, but it seems like they would use different vernacular, especially when it comes to swearing. I don't know why it's jarring to me. It shouldn't be, but yeah.
What about Ash Tyler? Now, we haven't had a chance to really get to know Ash Tyler because he was introduced
He's a looker.
He is a handsome
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
He can take a beating too. Or seemingly.
A seeming beating. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's too soon to tell, but he's going to come up in my theories.
Ooh, your theories.
All right. Well, I'll be presenting the theory. Yeah. So maybe to be decided is the best thing to say about him.
Yeah, he hasn't had enough screen time yet to really have an opinion. Yeah.
So Saru.
I really like the character.
That's some amazing makeup. I mean, I really love that mask. He can actually have facial expressions and things, like, you know, in a limited way, but that's a giant appliance, and you don't think character is going to be that interesting to look at, and you're going to see the edge of their mouth or something bizarre, but it's beautiful. You know, the contacts he's wearing and everything. It's really fun to look at in his little fear ganglia.
Yeah. And he emotes really well.
Yeah, Doug Jones has a lot of experience acting. He was that fish guy in the Hellboy.
Oh, same. Oh,
series.
wow.
They didn't use his voice for the first Hellboy, but they used his voice for the second Hellboy. But he was the actual guy in that, and he's done something else where he played like Ron Perlman before people say, "Hey, we actually want to see your face."
Yeah,
but he's like a special. It's like Andy Serkis as well. Andy Serkis is like the CG guy, and Doug Jones is to put him in a lot of makeup because he can actually. I think he's a contortionist or something where, or a mime or something where he knows how to use his body.
Yeah, and that's how he does emote with a lot of
it.
The way his shoulders do a lot of emotion for him, the way he bends them. And it's really good. Yeah, and besides the movement of it, I just like the character. I find him interesting. I agree with what you were saying before, that he doesn't seem like he'd make a good first officer for this ship. Yeah. But yeah, I like him.
Yeah, there's a character where I just think he's being misused, where it's an interesting character and played by somebody who's very good at what he does. So I like the character, but I don't like what they're doing with him. Okay. I guess would be the thing where I don't buy it at all. And like you had people like, I think they've actually said he's the Spock and he's the Data of this series, and I can see that. But the thing about Data, he wasn't the first officer. And then you would see
Spock was science officer, right?
Right. Oh, who was the first officer in Star Trek?
Or am I wrong about that?
No, he might have been the first officer.
I know he definitely was the science officer, but I wonder if he was like also first officer.
He was the de facto first officer.
Yeah, he took the bridge every time Kirk left. Yeah. So he took on.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if he had just been the science officer and somebody else, maybe the person that got killed was the first officer. I guess she was the security officer, but she was the dual role security officer and first officer. She I could believe. And then he was the science officer on the ship. I can believe that. And then even if after she got killed, Lorca's just like, fine, you're the first officer. And we kind of see him getting dragooned into it just because Lorca doesn't care. Or if, like I said before, Lorca's like, I'm just making Michael Burnham the first officer,
Right.
and Saru's just the face.
Right.
But I mean, you gotta tell me that a little bit more, because he's too incompetent. Like, he'll never get a starship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any explanation? Did they reveal anything why Lorca kind of gathered the mutinied crew, the crew that was muted? So Michael's former crew, why he had so many of those members on his crew? Was there some logic to that?
There hasn't yet been, but the Battle of the Binaries, the Klingon fight from the 2 opening episodes, they displayed as being really damaging to Starfleet.
Oh, so those were they were gathering survivors.
It's possible that the crew might be made up of the survivors of that, but they haven't explicitly said so.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, because that is odd that there's so many people throwing hate on her. He specifically chooses Michael.
No, they haven't said it, but I could certainly see there being it being a deliberate act on his part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are motivated to fight the Klingons, man.
Yeah.
It's a really small thing, but I really like, just in a technical sense, the sound effects that they use for Saru. He makes these jaw slap kind of things, like the smacking of his teeth almost, or smacking of his lips rather, and this weird like cat-like purr kind of sound.
Okay.
And it's thrown in really infrequently, but it's used at a lot of times when he's getting upset or when he's surprised. It just makes a little kind of sound.
Yeah.
And it's just really it's spot on. Good sound design there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I didn't initially like how Saru's predator-prey thing was presented. It was very, very much like a Star Trek alien. I know we were talking before about Starfinder. And they have this insect race. Right. And initially I thought, they might be fun to play because they have that choices thing.
Yeah.
They didn't have they couldn't make any choices before because they're part of a hive. Now they're free, so they're addicted to choices. But then I kind of went, no, they kind of seem like a Star Trek alien, where you introduce them with their one-dimensional, their one quirk. So him talking about this predator prey, and I was raised as prey, so this is going to influence everything I do. And I didn't like how it was initially done, but I did like how it was used in the 5th episode, where he was able to see like the predator prey pattern. Yeah. When he saw the Klingon raiders to determine that's like Lorca or something. Captain, yeah. Huh. But that was good. I'm worried. It's not going to keep me up at night, but I wonder if it's going to make him one-dimensional and it'll keep coming up again and again and again. Like at a certain point, a species moves beyond its one dimension. Right. So sure, the Kelpians were the prey on this planet, but you're not the prey anymore. And I mean, you can't just go away from your innate programming, if you will. But
I wonder if they're going to show the predator species show up on the view screen watching. He's just like, oh,
that'd be good, I guess.
Fun,
yeah. I don't think you guys are giving him enough credit, and especially as his skills as a leader. He confronted a woman of color and called her a dangerous predator to her face, and I mean that took some balls.
Yeah, so straight up the Hillary Clinton playbook.
Well, I mean, actually, you look at it. He said he considers her dangerous. So to do that confrontation, I was surprised that his character was able to pull that off. And it made. I'm not sold yet, but it made the prospect of him being a first officer a little more palatable.
No, I didn't like that scene.
You didn't? No. Because?
Like where he's like, you're dangerous. And I didn't like it because of the way Michael Burnham acts in that scene.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm watching this and it's like, you're afraid of me. Why are you afraid of me? And I'm like,
I don't know. We're talking about the scene from episode 5 where he yells at her about using the creature? Or a different scene?
No, I guess I was thinking about the final scene with her and Michael, because she's like, "Why are you afraid of me?"
Oh, and he said, "I'm not afraid of you. I'm angry at you."
Yeah, then he says that. Okay, maybe he said dangerous was earlier in the
dangerous
episode.
Was in, I think, the 3rd episode when they finally met again.
Yes, yeah, like in the elevator or something. Yeah, in the lift. Yeah, it was something. Yeah,
maybe I just don't like any of the scenes. They're just kind of all blend in. So I think he's fine on his own, but then. Playing off of Michael Burnham, he's not strong enough to be a foil. So what is he? He's whereas Tilly's the heart, he's the soul. I don't know.
He's the prey.
Yeah, and he comes across as like the prey of the predator prey, and like, what are you trying to say Michael Burnham is?
She abuses him.
Yeah,
And she's downright mean to him. Like when he says she's dangerous, she doesn't seem to give him any respect. When she calls him down to pretend to apologize to gauge his reaction to the creature, and it's just like, he says, "You used me," and she doesn't even say anything. She's like, "Yeah, pretty much," and lets him storm out. Doesn't say anything, and that's why giving him the telescope at the end seems so hollow too.
Yeah,
also because it was too fast. It was just
and in the pilot, didn't it kind of seem like they were supposed to be presented as friends, not really friends, but having a
having a good working relationship.
Good working relationship, right. Like maybe rivals, but like friendly rivals or something.
They disagreed a lot.
Right, a little like kind of like brother and sister. Kind of she bumped him out of the way, and
and then they're like just abandoning that, like.
Well, I can see how that relationship might have changed after the mutiny. To be honest.
No, but that you can see how he would change.
Yes,
and how he would start to think she's dangerous. But then if all she does is use him the whole time, because she wouldn't have changed.
Right.
And in fact, she would have probably changed to try to appeal to him more, to win him over. Where you see, this is you trying to win him over, man. Imagine how you were before.
Right?
You would have been horrible. So, again, like
maybe I just want them to be friends. But like in the 5th episode, where he's yelling at her, he's admonishing for disobeying the orders, for not doing what's the right thing to save the captain, and she doesn't flinch or she doesn't apologize. Or I know she's no longer in the rank hierarchy, but just nothing.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, maybe I just like the character, so maybe I feel bad for him getting treated that way. But
yeah, okay. Now, how about the Klingons? And I guess we'll start with the one that's no longer with us.
Takuma.
I'll just say this right off the bat about the Klingons. I don't like the way they look now. I don't mind that they change them. That's not my issue. But I have like two problems. The makeup is too much to act through. You're not always going to get a Doug Jones who can act through makeup, and like that's his specialty. So I think it was really hard on the actors to emote through that makeup, and to make them speak Klingon for that whole time. I mean, it's not a natural language, so you've got to take a guy or a woman, and they've got a couple months to learn the language. But you're learning a language not because you're going to be living in the country, but to do your role. And I just really felt that the actors struggled saying those lines. I'm not familiar with the actors, especially one. So I don't know how good they are, but I'm going to imagine that they are pretty decent, because they seem to have cast pretty decent people in the Federation roles. And actually, the Tikel? Actually, Laurel? The female, like when she was able to use English in the 5th episode, she's all right. But when they're going, and you're like, they really struggled.
I agree 100%. I don't care that they changed the look of the Klingons, and they made them look more alien, and I actually like the way that they look. But you're right. You're absolutely right. There's too much makeup. The lip prosthesis, or I don't know if it's just makeup caked down or something, but they can barely move their mouths, it seems. Yeah. And then, so you don't get much of emotion out of them. The language, it doesn't sound like a native speaker of any language.
Sure, yeah.
When he gives a speech, it's like this, and it's no one would talk like that in their own language.
And so like learned phonetically just to get those lines.
And even if it were better, even if they sounded smooth and natural speaking it, I still wouldn't like it, because I find when I'm watching the Klingon scenes, I'm not watching the scenes, I'm looking at subtitles.
Yeah, right.
I don't mind reading the subtitles. I still can watch both. But I know that's a common complaint people make with subtitles.
It's weird. It doesn't bother me when I'm watching Japanese movies, but for some reason, just the whole scene, I'm in the subtitles in the Klingons.
Maybe because it's the lighting. It's so dark. No. So you have to pay attention more to try to make them out. And especially, I know they are doing the contrast of the skin, but still, most of the Klingons are pretty dark. So when you have dark lighting with these dark Klingons with ornate but kind of nondescript armor, you have to really pay attention. And you certainly can't tell them apart very well.
I wonder if it has to do with their voices, because it's not natural sounding, and they're all forcing speaking this language. If it's more difficult to tell who's speaking just by the sound of their voice. Obviously, the man and the woman is fine, but I don't know who's talking, so I have to look at who is speaking and also read their lines at the same time.
Right. Yeah, the prophet character, there's kind of a weird effect on his voice, and I was wondering if it was the prosthetic or if it's an extra effect they're putting, but it sounds like he's speaking through, like you hear some reverberation.
The distortion.
Yeah, there's a distortion, so there's something in front of his mouth or something that's blocking him. So his quality of his voice is a little bit different, and they may do that to differentiate, but it almost sounds like it's accidental. It's just a product of the
I've heard that with a few characters, and I think that's something that they are making Klingons do. I think when they do like the sound, they kind of run it through a little reverberation to give it a sound that humans can't make.
Right.
I think that would just a guess.
Would make sense. Well, I would hope it would be intentional, because it's very noticeable that it's like, is that a bad mask, or is this guy got too much glue in his nose? Yeah.
And the prophet, I mean, you only had him for 2 episodes.
What are your guys' opinions about the Klingons being portrayed as so spiritual? I mean, this is kind of moving more towards the the Islamic terrorist kind of bent, where you have an enemy that's based on a religion that so I was surprised.
At first, I was kind of because I thought that's what they were making the Klingons into. But when they showed the other Klingon that betrayed him and took his ship, they showed that dynamic and the interplay between them. And now I'm like, cool.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
You got the zealots, you got the military jerks, you got the whole salad. So,
right. Yeah, that's true. That they did kind of redeem that, because I was really worried that it was going to be too spiritually based, that every time they were confronting Klingons, they were going to be kind of repeating their...
I don't know. I didn't think about the Islamic terrorist point, but I can see it now that you mentioned it. But you have this guy he's a martyr now, and that's supposed to unify the Klingons, but they don't really seem to care. The military guy, so why unified?
And they never mention his name again in the later series. So.
Yeah, so it's it seemed to be much to do about nothing. Just like that particular character. The prophet was much to do about nothing. Like, he was there, and he's now just like a MacGuffin or something like that. Like he was a plot point, and one that's kind of abandoned. And now we've got.
I kind of liked him better than the guy, the Volk guy.
Then there was like the very memorable Laurel. I keep having to look at my notes to remember. She's okay. Not really sold, and again, I think the actors are a real disadvantage. I'm not really seeing why she is following Volk, and
I haven't been sold on that either.
Right. But she seemed okay in the 5th episode, and I think that's because she doesn't have to speak Klingon. She can use English, and it's like, okay,
it's so much better. I want to get on Twitter and just tell them, please switch to English.
Now, how about Volk?
Yeah, there was an odd choice to have the differentiation between. I mean, yes, it's albino, so it's a mutation, but to have different color Klingons.
Obviously they make him albino, so you can tell him apart from everybody. So it's like, oh, that's the guy I should care about. Because they had like the purple guy, but it was purple is not, especially in that lighting, is not different enough from brown.
Right.
Yeah, or black. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of just the zealotous character just kind of turns me off from the beginning. But there's not much to him yet. Yeah. All the Klingons. It's cool that they're showing more of the Klingon culture, and they're trying to get in to build that, but they haven't built it enough yet.
Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of Klingons even in the other series. I like Worf. He was done well, but I didn't need to see, because they were a Star Trek villain, a Star Trek alien species with a very one-dimensional. Everybody else has got dimensions, or like all the humans have dimensions, but all the other cultures are just, hey, we all dress the same.
I'm gonna have to disagree there. I think at first, of course, and through most of Next Generation too. But I think especially in Deep Space Nine, they really started fleshing out the Klingons, and I think they built. You're right; they're still quite one-dimensional. They're quote unquote the warrior species, but they bring a lot more to them in Deep Space Nine.
And that weapon they have.
The battle, that's just stupid.
Yeah, it just looks so dumb.
I know, it's a terribly designed weapon.
But I think the look, like the aesthetic of these early Klingons, that weapon makes a little bit more sense in that weird aesthetic that they're kind of going for.
They can barely move.
Yeah,
Yes. They got really stiff joints.
Now there's just kind of a off topic. If you take a look on YouTube and take a look at at Dax telling Worf why the Klingon Empire is doomed, it's pretty interesting.
Oh,
she gives a long takedown of why the whole warrior philosophy is the reason that the Empire is falling apart. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, that's good. I remember I think it was Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
That had the female doctor. No. Maybe okay. In one of the Star Trek series, maybe it was Next Generation, where they talked about the redundancy.
Yeah, that was Next Generation.
Yeah, and it was it's a backup, but it's also doubles your chances of something going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was neat.
nice. I like the spicy Latina Klingon mix in Voyager, right? Torres.
Oh, she was cute. she was definitely cute.
That was worth waiting for.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember her. I think I preferred the Jerry Ryan 7 of 9.
Over the top.
Just too much sex appeal. So, so I guess that's it for the Klingons.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
I wish there was more, but yeah, that's it.
All right, let's talk about our theories, predictions, and hopes.
Take it away.
All right, so this is not my theory, but I do like this theory. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the theory is that Volk and Ash Tyler are actually the same person. So Volk has been transformed into a human, or at least human-looking, so that he can infiltrate the Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And here is the case.
I don't believe you. Tell us, how is this possible?
Both outside the actual show, in the production, and inside the show. So outside the show in the production is the actor Shazad. So the actor Shazad Latiff was originally cast as a Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
The Klingon's name was Cole, but he was presented as one of the big 3 Klingons that they had. Of course, the other ones are L'Rell and
Volk. Or Takuvma.
And suddenly Cole, who I guess is a named character, but very minor now because it's been replaced by this other one, Volk. Mm-hmm. So people are thinking, they just changed the name just to kind of throw us off. 2, if you look at the face of both Volk and Ash Tyler, or the actor Shazad Latiff, there's actually facial similarities, and you can go on to an article on Game Radar, and it will show you, and it actually is pretty convincing.
Yeah.
3, the actor cast to play Volk, which is Javid Iqbal, doesn't exist, or doesn't seem to exist, or I guess doesn't have an internet presence. Mm-hmm. So you would think most actors will set up like an Instagram or a Twitter account, or have their screenshots in the IMDb. They'll have their regular headshot, but here it's just him as Volk.
Yeah.
And it's only screen credit, and then if you just Google outside of IMDb, that's all you get is just pictures of him as Volk. So that's outside.
There was also a mention on Reddit, I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly the actor, what was his name again? For Ash.
Oh, Shazad Latiff.
Yeah, supposedly his birth name or his name at a previous point was had Iqbal at the end. His last name was Iqbal.
Yeah, and I heard there was more where the name that they've chosen for the Volk actor is like kind of a play on words, but I can't remember
Volk
exactly.
Is fire or flame, and then Ash is Ash.
Yeah,
so some relation there.
Okay,
I think I don't promise.
Yeah. Now we look within the actual show. So Volk was last seen looking at files of Starfleet crew members. So he could have been finding somebody who was killed or missing and picking, so they could bring that person back. He also then has a scene with L'Rell, where she says that he will need to give up everything,
sacrifice everything. Yeah,
so he will need to sacrifice everything. She also says that there are things he never knew possible, referencing her house, which is House of Mokai, which is founded or are a family of spies. So then we next see her as part of this prison ship that then takes Lorca prisoner.
Right. The captain, actually, right? They refer to her?
She's the captain of the ship. Even though there's a 6-week timeline, she returns and becomes a captain of a prison ship.
6 months, but yes.
I heard 6 weeks.
Was it 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I misread it.
Yeah. And if we look at within the Star Trek canon, there's a thing called the augment virus, and I think that was introduced in Enterprise.
Yes.
And that explains why the Klingons in the original series of Star Trek and the Klingons in Next Generation look different.
Right.
In other words, the Klingons in the original series look more human. So then there's this virus which makes Klingons lose their ridge and appear more human. So it is feasible that they could have submitted to him some sort of virus that makes him look human.
Yep.
Yeah. Then there's also the fact that Tyler lacks bruising or really any major damage, even though he keeps getting taken away and beaten up, allegedly.
Right.
And he says that the captain likes him. The captain speaks English very well. So obviously they can have taught him English in 6 weeks. Yeah. Now there is the fight that they have at the end, but the fight could have been a few things. It could have been foreplay. I guess violence is part of foreplay in the Klingon world. It could have been a ruse just to see the fight. Or it could actually be true anger. So Volk is now angry that he is human. So he didn't, when he heard that he was going to have to sacrifice everything, he didn't know it actually meant everything that it is.
Right.
So they've promised that with Ash Tyler, they're going to play up the PTSD.
Okay.
And that could be that could be played two ways. It could be the PTSD from being a prisoner of the Klingons, or it could be a PTSD of actually being transformed from a Klingon into a human. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the theory.
Not crazy excited about that. It reminds me a little bit of the Cylons in the new Battlestar Galactica. They look
I love that.
Yeah, we're going to do that again. That's just my first thought. Yeah. So I don't know.
I promised a rebuttal, but I don't really have a rebuttal, to be honest. I don't have a theory as why they wouldn't or they couldn't, but I have ideas of why they shouldn't.
Okay.
And I think that in the story they cheated a bit. Outside of it, looking at the actors' names and everything like that, I'm totally sold. That makes a lot of sense. And it's, in fact, hearing that, it's very probable, I think, that he is. But some of the things that they did in the story just don't lead up to him being a spy. For example, the English thing. The captain comments that Laurel's English is very good. He's had experience with Klingons before in the past. If her English, heavily accented, still with words.
I've thought about that. Here's what that could be. One.
I thought I was doing the rebuttals here.
All right.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought about that as hers is accented and his is completely unaccented. It could be a couple things. It could be she could actually speak English perfectly, but why reveal that actually some Klingons can speak English perfectly? Because not only for that specific mission of Volk needing to infiltrate Discovery, but maybe they do other things where Klingons do like audio distress calls or things like that. So just if you don't have to reveal that you can do something, why reveal it?
Yeah, that's a good rationalization. Yeah.
It could also be that because she doesn't have to do the deep cover, she doesn't have to get submitted to the intensive language training or whatever. So she can speak English very well, certainly enough to converse with the captain, to completely eliminate her accent. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He speaks English perfectly, but he's never bothered to really get rid of his Austrian accent because he's never really had to.
Yeah, that's part of his character.
So he has that. And pause because I have a third reason. Okay. And a third explanation, and you guys actually both mentioned it earlier when you talked about the way that they speak, and that they're trying to emphasize that the way the Klingon mouth is structured means that they can make sounds that humans can't. So you the reverse of that is the way the human mouth is structured, is they can make sounds that Klingons can't.
Yeah.
So unless she has the physical alteration to make her human, she'll never be able to speak a human dialect perfectly. Just like no human would ever be able to speak the Klingon dialect perfectly unless they had severe physical alterations to their mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought of all of those things. The alien tongue one as well, but she also has an unnatural cadence and an unnatural pronunciation of certain words. Not pronunciation, sorry. That would come with the alien physiology. But anyway, not to get too deep into that. Sure, okay. There's also there's some kind of technological thing involved. Maybe they implanted a chip or something in his throat that lets him vocalize. Maybe they implanted a chip in his brain so he didn't even have to learn over the 6 weeks, which seems a bit of a stretch. You can make all of these excuses for it.
I've heard that there might be something on the transformation that does almost like implant memories. Yeah, actually, I didn't hear that, but I thought of that.
Which I think is also something important because also there's the thing of Starfleet protocol. They're putting him as a Starfleet officer. There would be a lot that he needs to learn and know. Yeah. So again, yeah, sure, they can hand wave it with saying that it's been plugged into his brain. Still, I think that's kind of that's pushing it a bit.
But the augment virus is also presented as making the Klingons that are exposed to it, they become like smarter and better.
Augment, faster, stronger, better.
Yeah. So therefore, his ability to learn a language is augmented.
Yep.
So he, or his ability to learn things. So it could be an implant. Fine.
There's lots of different ways, but I'm not arguing what's theoretically possible. I feel like that's a bit of cheating.
But I think. And this is what I think of Star Trek. I think Star Trek is all about cheating. all the technology, the holodecks, the transporter. I mean, they've already established that they're cheating with the technology. They have the way the transporter works. You would know much more than I would. It works differently than the way the transporter works in other ships. Remember, they make the reference, I think in the very first episode. It's like, you have this type of
wastes too much energy.
Yeah. And he goes, but they haven't taken it off. So I guess this transporter, it allows them to beam bombs into other ships, right? They say a lateral or something. Then what is special about the transporter in the first ship? The one that was no, there is something special because they make a reference, and you wouldn't make a reference to it.
They say when she first beams in that it's, I think she says lateral.
A lateral transporter.
Yeah.
And then the captain says, it uses up a lot of energy, i.e. is better. So the reason why they don't have that in all the ships is because...
I just read it as that it was inefficient. It was an older...
No, I read it. Well, okay. I mean, an Uber fan would probably be able to chime in immediately and say, this is what it means.
Somebody on Twitter right now.
the way I took it was that it can actually do something that normal transporters can't. So it has an extra feature. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was their way of saying why they could... transport bombs into ships without or going through shields or something like that. That's how I saw it. It was actually a superior transporter, and that was their way of explaining why they can do certain things that maybe in the original series or Next Generation.
I didn't see that.
Okay, but all right. But I still think Star Trek cheats.
Yeah, and like you're right. The same thing we were talking about before about how Klingons are supposed to be the strongest race around, but they beat them up pretty handily.
Yeah.
Right? The thing. But let's see, what was the other? So let's see. How did he learn English that fast? Why did he keep telling the captain to leave me here when they're going out of the ship? I'm injured and just put me down. And the captain says, I'll come back for you. But he just saw him lock Harry Mudd in the thing.
Yeah, but Harry Mudd was...
He has reason to lock away Harry Mudd. Yeah. But he also has reason to know that the captain isn't that sentimental a guy.
But he looked into the Starfleet files. Mm-hmm. Maybe he saw the files for Lorca. Oh, they obviously know who Lorca is because they brought him up to the prison ship. So they could have done a psychology profile and said, he lost his crew and sacrificed his crew. He's not going to want to leave anybody behind. Then there's also the part in the thing was like, okay, now let's break out. And he's like, well, why didn't you do that before? Oh, I needed two people.
Job, yeah.
It was a 2-man job to break out of an entire prison thing. No, it's kind of like a 15-person job.
Half the crew by myself.
Yeah.
The other thing was how much they beat him up or how much they injured him. I mean, there's a pretty big gap, I think, between make it look convincing and make me immobile.
But he never does look. That's one thing where
the captain has to put him over his shoulder and drag him out. The thing
what
is,
he can't act. What he can
exactly,
speak perfectly.
Why? So imagine the Klingons
Because
punch
he's
him
taken
around.
the punishment.
Right, but why did he have to take enough punishment to be immobilized and to
Why
say,
doesn't the
"Leave me
captain
here"?
fix his eyes? Because he's punishing himself.
Right.
So it's a psych profile. They can see the captain doesn't fix his eyes. He goes, I don't like doctors. But we find out he actually
uses it to remind himself of the crew he lost.
Right. So somebody who is a bit of a masochist, he's mirroring the captain. The captain,
I suppose, but
like that kind of sacrifice, that kind of taking the pain.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. That is an explanation.
That's what I want to hear.
But on the other hand, why not just have them escape? Beat him up, not to the point where he's limping and has to say, "Leave me here." Just the point where he's hurt, but they can get to the shuttlecraft together.
They've created a phantom actor, and gave him a IMDb profile.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to really mask that this guy is the spy.
Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I think that he is secretly going to be Vok.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. But I feel that as an audience, they've given us too much information to say that this guy's not Vok, and not enough clues that he might be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not that they can't or that they won't. In fact, I think they will, but I think it's a little bit unfair, the information they've given us. Too many plot holes.
I think whenever you do something like that, there's like tons of plot holes.
That's always going to be.
There's lots of cheats.
I mean, you guys have played in my RPG campaigns. Plot holes happen.
Yeah.
So, yes. So I agree with you, but also I don't agree with them.
Sure. Yeah. I think, I like the effort that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
I like the effort that they've made in trying to put one over on people, and it's really hard in the internet age because you have so many people
for sure,
like pooling their resources together to figure things out. But I like that, and it is different. I don't know if they've done something like this in Star Trek. Sure, they've done it in Battlestar Galactica, but wow, learn from the best. I really like Battlestar Galactica. So.
Season 2. Who's the Klingon? Oh, I was a Klingon the whole time.
Any predictions or hopes? So, I mean, that was. I mean, I'm sure there's other theories, but that was certainly the one that caught my eye. But any predictions or hopes?
Aside from in general, I like the show so far. After episode 4, I was kind of getting but after episode 5, I want to watch 6. I'm really excited to see it. So maybe I'm just being overly optimistic as usual. I hope. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. I hope they expand on Saru a lot. I hope Michael becomes more personable, more human. I hope for better action scenes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the same. I'm thinking along those lines too. I'm in now. By episode 5, I was in, and I want to see focus on characters, some backstory, some arcs with individual characters, kind of people that they've just touched on, and because we're already getting a little more of that of everybody, and it's been enjoyable. I think the Lorca and then the science officer and everybody that we've seen, kind of more about them. I think it's making it worth watching and making it interesting. Yeah.
I'm just giggling myself because I was thinking, actually, I really hope that Vok is Ash because that just means less Vok.
Yeah, right. yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good for him. Yeah,
right.
I predict that it'll be renewed for a second season just for people's curiosity alone. I mean, certainly getting enough attention. I think they're going to move away from Michael Burnham because they realize that the scenes that play better are the ones that involve the other crew people.
Good. Star Trek is
yeah, and they're going to expand that. And they're going to kind of realize that our initial idea of focusing on this one character and watching her grow and watching her arc, they're going to move away from that, and they'll be presenting different arcs. And I mean, that'll be better. I walked away from 5 thinking, well, I'm kind of done. We'll do this episode or this, and I can walk away from Discovery. But, I probably would want to talk about Discovery with you two more. So I probably keep up with that. But I'm not in love with the series, and there's certain things that are okay. I don't hate it. Yeah.
That's high praise.
But I mean, now there's like so many viewing options.
I know.
And it's
Yeah.
I know. I still haven't seen Stranger Things yet.
yeah. But I mean, it's painless. I mean, I was able to power through 4 episodes or 5 episodes pretty quickly. I mean, that's high praise. Painless viewing.
Painless. I didn't hate it.
Well, I've been less disappointed with this, and I think maybe had higher expectations than a lot of the low-budget Sci-Fi Channel stuff. That I was like, I want some sci-fi. I want to watch this. I want to get into it, and it's just unwatchable.
Yeah.
So it's got decent acting, gorgeous art direction, and visual design, and So yeah, I think I'm putting it because of the Star Trek brand, putting it on a little bit, a little more critical, putting it on a higher level, and it is much more satisfying than a lot of the B-grade sci-fi stuff out there.
Well, yeah, they certainly invested in some good bones, such as the quality of the actors that they've put together. So yeah,
art direction is really good. I agree. Yes.
And I guess a hope would be is don't feel bound by Star Trek.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But
Or good
that's my personal hope, and it's just like, hey, be your own thing, because I'm not a real Star Trek fan, and I kind of get tired of it.
Be your own thing. Be more like Battlestar.
Maybe introduce some like cyborgs or robots, something like that.
Blonde, sexy one.
And she's was it Trisha Helfer? Trisha Helfer, she played Six in Battlestar Galactica. She's in a new science fiction series called Ascension, which is a very interesting premise. Yeah, but you can definitely see that the money is more in a thing like Star Trek Discovery than something like Ascension. Yeah. So which of the Star Trek series would you most like to play in a role-playing game?
I mean, my first instinct would say the original series, because that's kind of the classic problem solving, and I think coming up with the
problem solving is just a punch and a roll.
But the being presented with ethical challenges, and I guess the Next Generation has that same sort of thing where you're encountering worlds and races that kind of keep bringing up new questions and new possibilities, and isn't so physical. You're more just trying to resolve things through diplomacy and just trying to figure out what in fact is actually going on here. So I guess that is more Next Generation actually than original series. Is much more 60s 60s TV punches thrown and
giant lizard, punch him.
But I think the first instinct is less violent, less combat oriented, and more exploration. And so I guess Next Generation would be my first vote.
As my first thought was Next Generation too, but the more I thought about it, the less I thought that would be ideal. Next Generation would really go well with a group that's down with military style play, a strict rank system, and very orderly kind of thing. But I think it's like we were saying, one-dimensional.
Next Generation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the exploration thing, it's negotiations and things, and of course there would be some combat, but I think that it's not as wide as it could be. So the one that I choose is Deep Space Nine. It's got a darker side to it. You see organized crime groups in there, you see hacking, you see some of like the dark side of Starfleet, the spying organizations. You have the war in the background, but you also have what's going on internally in the Federation. I think it's a much richer universe, even if it doesn't have some of the strongest hallmarks of what Star Trek is, like Next Generation does. Next Generation is definitely the better show in my opinion, but if I were role-playing, Deep Space Nine. And the station that's there too. It's this dirty, dark station that's got
which could just be the home base. They don't have to be, they could have a ship there too.
Exactly. So, yeah.
I would say Next Generation gives the game master a lot more freedom. And it allows everybody to do more surprises. They can drop something, and it's like they can really play with each world, and that would be the expectation that every world is different. Whereas I think something like Discovery conforms to a major storyline.
Yes.
That said, I might want to play Deep Space Nine or Discovery because it has a built-in motivation, and you can still play with things. Like you can still go off, like, I mean, you got a Klingon war, but you can still go off and do something else. But I think Discovery would be more railroady, where the game master would be telling people what to do. I kind of disagree with you with the rank system in that I think Next Generation would be a lot freer as far as the ranks. Maybe less free than Deep Space Nine, but certainly freer than Discovery, where I think the ranks are going to be a big thing, and you're going to get a lot of military, because it's the Federation as a military, not the Federation as an exploratory organization or a collection of planets. So there it would be very much playing a military campaign. So yeah, maybe I would agree with you. Deep Space Nine would be the best balance of the two.
Yeah, I think you could go probably both ways with that setting. A little bit more negotiation and just character interaction. But then there's also the combat. I mean, you're also in a war time. So
I wonder.
And I think you touched on it when you talked about hacking and stuff like that. And those are kind of things that you wouldn't really explore in either Discovery, the original series, or Next Generation, or Voyager, because it doesn't seem like an important skill. And it's kind of like Clone Wars, the animated series. And you watch that, and then like people are very critical of the prequels. But when you watch something like the Clone Wars, what it does is it brings you into what life is really like in that world. So I think it makes it a more interesting place to play than just you're either rebel or you're empire. You're fighting and you do your thing, and you're just kind of always, running away and things like that. But you could actually have an adventure that's very, gritty, low key, and then you can raise it up the next few sessions where now, get on the Defiant, I think it was, or some equivalent, and go do this. Means you have to go to find a planet, and then later on you come back to your home base and do your political games. People really love Babylon 5, and I think that's kind of the same premise. I've never actually seen it. Where it's Babylon 5 is kind of a stationary, that's like a space station?
Yes. And it starts out episodic, but turns into a big, long, overarching story at the end. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it allows them to, because you're not always traveling from place to place. You've got that central location that allows for a more political game.
Very true. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, and you can play more varied characters. You can have the Ferengi.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I was thinking Next Generation would be really hierarchical because people always seem to follow orders in the show just without issue. They all got along. Whereas in Discovery, people seem to challenge each other more. But
Michael Burnham seems to challenge everybody.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. But to be honest, there's no reason that you couldn't have someone who's less apt to follow orders in a next generation setting.
Well, I think the reason why I disagree with you is something that you said earlier. Is like nobody listens to each other in Discovery, whereas in Next Generation, everybody listens to each other. So that's kind of the vibe. And I guess even in the original series, everybody listens to each other. And hey, what do you think? And in Voyager, everybody's listening to each other. And it's like, well, that's a good point. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
So it's very much a talkie where really very quickly in Discovery, somebody goes, do this. No. Throw them in the brig. Finished. Whereas in Next Generation, do this. No, Captain, I think you should reconsider. Oh, really? Why do you think that? Boom. So it's a very talky game. And maybe I don't want to play Next Generation because the Prime Directive. And it's just like, gag me. Like, I didn't mind that when people were complaining about Discovery not having the Prime Directive so much or something. And I was like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
I think it could
it does make sense. I just don't like it.
It could be a good foil to put on the players, but at the same time, I could see people bristling against it.
Well, it's something, if you're just always going to break it, then why have it?
Yeah.
Let's break it in a clandestine way. Well, we're still breaking it, aren't we?
Play being in the brig.
All right.
Well, but the biggest advantage of the Deep Space Nine setting is you've got Cardassians, and you could go Ki-Im and Ku-Lo-E, and you could keep up with the Cardassians.
Oh, okay.
All right. I think we're going to end it there. Yeah.
I'm done.
Well, thank you for joining us for our episode on Star Trek Discovery. Like, what do you think? Do you think the theory holds up? Do you like Michael Burnham? Or do you hate her? Or are you in between? Yeah. And I'd like to thank Chris for joining us, and hopefully we can convince Chris to come back more often.
I hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you support us on the Patreon, the upcoming Patreon, you could make that a reality.
My wife would definitely say yes if there was a profit involved.
All right. And if you like this episode, certainly spread the word and share it.
Right.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.